Hi, it's Miss Mitosis, and in today's lesson we'll be looking at prokaryotic cells. By the end of today's lesson, you'll be able to describe the key structures found in a prokaryotic cell and describe their roles, and then describe the key differences between prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. All cells can be classified as either prokaryotic cells or eukaryotic cells. So prokaryotic cells are cells that do not contain a nucleus. A good example of these include bacterial cells, whereas eukaryotic cells do contain a nucleus, and this includes animal cells, plant cells, fungi, and prototists. So here we have a diagram of a typical bacterial cell. You can see it's a prokaryotic cell as it doesn't contain a nucleus, and instead the DNA is just floating inside the cytoplasm. For your GCSE, you need to be able to identify the different key parts within a bacterial cell. There is the cell wall, cell membrane, circular chromosomal DNA that isn't found within a nucleus but instead just found within the cytoplasm, ribosomes, cytoplasm, plasmids, and finally, some bacterial cells contain a slime capsule and some bacterial cells contain a flagella. As well as being able to identify the key parts of a prokaryotic cell, you also need to be able to describe their roles. So firstly, the cell membrane controls the movement of substances into and out of the cell. The cell wall is made up of peptidoglycan and this strengthens the cell. Some bacteria contain a slime capsule. This can prevent the cell from being engulfed by white blood cells of the immune system, and it also helps stop the bacterium from drying out. Ribosomes are the site of protein synthesis. Cytoplasm is the jelly-like substance where many chemical reactions happen. The chromosomal DNA is circular DNA found loose inside the cytoplasm. The plasmids are the small circular pieces of DNA that contain extra genetic information. For example, they could contain the information for antibiotic resistance. And finally, some bacteria have flagella, and this flagella can rotate or move in a whip-like motion in order to help the bacteria move. We're now going to come on to comparing prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. In an exam, it's really important you read the question carefully. Is the question asking you to compare prokaryotic cells and animal cells, prokaryotic cells and plant cells, or prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells in general? When comparing the similarities and differences between prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells, we can see that they both have ribosomes, they both have cytoplasm, and they both have cell membranes. The key differences are that eukaryotic cells have a nucleus where the DNA is found, and prokaryotic cells do not. Eukaryotic cells have membrane-bound organelles such as mitochondria, whereas prokaryotic cells do not have these. In prokaryotic cells, we can find plasmids, the small circular pieces of DNA. Eukaryotic cells do not have plasmids. And finally, prokaryotic cells have circular chromosomes, whereas eukaryotic cells have linear chromosomes. Okay, so we now come on to our key questions. Number 1, why is a bacterial cell classified as a prokaryotic cell? Number 2, what are plasmids? Number 3, name 2 similarities between prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. And number 4, name 2 differences between prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells. I suggest you pause the video here for 5 minutes and write your answers down. So here are the answers. Number 1, a bacterial cell is classified as a prokaryotic cell because it does not have a nucleus. Instead, the DNA is just floating inside the cytoplasm. Number 2, plasmids are the small circular pieces of DNA that contain extra genetic information. Number 3, both prokaryotic cells and eukaryotic cells have a cell membrane, ribosomes and cytoplasm. And for number 4, you could have identified any of the differences between eukaryotic cells and prokaryotic cells, but here is just an example of an answer. So eukaryotic cells contain a nucleus and membrane-bound organelles such as mitochondria, whereas prokaryotic cells do not. And that's the end of the lesson on prokaryotic cells. Please subscribe below for more free biology lessons.